AITA for making my partner's drinking water too warm. To set the scene, I like to drink cold or chilled water and my partner likes room temperature pre-boiled water. To accommodate for both our needs, we have a kettle for boiling water, after which it is transferred to 2 water jugs, which are either left at room temperature or used to refill the dispenser in the fridge. Onto the situation. 3 months ago I emptied both room temperature jugs into the fridge and boiled more water at night before bed. Partner came down, was furious she had no room temperature water to drink, and we came to an agreement. Don't fill up both jugs into the dispenser and leave her one. Fast forward to today. There was going to be some burst water main repairs outside by the utility company, so in the morning before my partner woke up, I decided to make sure we had enough water to drink. I filled the dispenser with 1 jug, then half the room temperature water and the other jug into both. I went back to work and thought nothing of it. Partner wakes up and goes down and she is furious. She doesn't have any room temperature water. I try to placate her by mixing the lukewarm water with water from the dispenser to make room temperature water, but it's futile. She won't relent. She tips the entire bottle of water I mixed out into the sink and tries herself and can't get the temperature right either. She is absolutely raging at me at this point for not listening to her or caring about her needs. She storms out of the house in a huff. So AITA here, or is perhaps this being blown out of proportion, and mixing water to a specific temperature is not as big of a deal. Edit. Okay, wow. This really blew up. Who knew water would be so polarizing? Never thought this post would start lukewarm Watergate. Just got off work and reading through all the replies. Looks like there's lots of questions, so I'll do my best to answer them and provide some clarity. Thank you everyone for the comments, the stories, the judgments, and everything in between. Appreciate all the input so far, and there's been some great takes that I'll take to heart and consider properly, including how best to communicate post-Watergate with my partner. So more info. Who boiled the kettle and filled the jugs the previous night? I did. Why did you touch all the water? Firstly, we don't have 1 jug for her, and 1 for me. We have 2 jugs for the household. I forgot about the water mains being repaired until early this morning when the trucks showed up and they started working. I rushed down and made sure there was enough water for both of us, not just me, on top of filling all the jugs in the dispenser and boiling another kettle full of water. I also filled a few sinks so we'd have extra water to flush the toilet if need be. I honestly thought the water would cool enough by the time she woke up since it's a cold day. But I guess I was wrong. I didn't expect her to react the way she did. Is she OCD? No, she's just pedantic about certain things and needs them to be a specific way. But I don't think it's any more demanding than any other person who is neat and tidy, and has certain idiosyncrasies. Why don't you drink from the tap? Divided by are you Asian? Yes, we are an Asian couple. Many of you have guessed that. Drinking boiled water is cultural and a preference. There is nothing particularly wrong with the tap water in our country, but it tastes better to my partner after being boiled. Warm, but not boiling water tastes different than cool to room temperature boiled water to her. So it's a preference. I preferred chilled water, but I'd happily drink room temperature water, or even warm if there wasn't any chilled water. I drink what we have, but preferred to have chilled. It doesn't affect me in any big way. This morning I just filled everything I could, including the dispenser. Why don't you use ice? I can definitely use ice, but our fridge has a built-in dispenser, so I do that from time to time with water from the jugs. Normally I will only ever use 1, and leave 1 for her. This morning in my haste I used both as I wanted to make sure everything was full. Dispenser, both jugs, and kettle. Why don't you have more jugs? Trust me, this is definitely our next step, as well as the Brita water filter. But worried she might not like the taste. Plus she might insist we boil it first before it goes into the Brita. Why did you pour half the water into an empty jug and fill both with boiling? As previously explained, we shattered a glass jug on a cold day, previously pouring boiling water directly into it. Because science, I don't know the physics here. Anyways, I was trying to avoid that and thought the boiling plus room temperature water would cool sufficiently by the time she woke up. I calculated wrong. Anyways, hope that clarifies most of the questions. We'll post an update once we've reached an amicable resolution. My guess is that it's not about the water, as some people have already said, but there's other underlying issues, and this was a trigger. Thank you for taking an interest and for all the comments. Story 2. AITA for giving a coworker a piece of candy to help with nausea. As quick background, I get really bad car sickness, and when I get migraines I get nauseous, so I carry these ginger candy that is meant to help with nauseousness. And yes, they do come from the pregnancy and prenatal area of the store, and it is targeted to pregnant people, but they do help with nausea without taking actual meds that a lot of the time make me tired. So yesterday morning one of my leads at work was not feeling and was feeling nauseous, so gave him one of my candies from my bag. I did tell him that it was a ginger candy that was meant to help with nausea. It has seemed to help him, and a couple hours later he asked if I had any more. so I gave him a small handful. Well, I found out this morning that it is upset with me because our supervisor M must have recognized the wrappers to the candies and that his wife used those candies for both of her pregnancy. Now the guys at work are talking about how it was an move to give him pregnancy treatment to him, and now he is ignoring me. Story 3. AITA. He made jokes at me all day. I made one back and now he's sulking. My hubby kept making jokes at me all day yesterday. I felt more like they were digs, and after the first few I pulled him on it. For example, we finished an episode of our show, and then I said I was going to go clean the house. He said that we'll make a change and started laughing. I do literally all the housework, so I wasn't impressed, but let it go. Anyways, fast forward to the evening after a whole day of this. He sends me this dating joke about how if you're looking to date a woman with a sense of humor yourself since they don't exist. I said really. He replied I only just proved his point, that I had no sense of humor. Fed up, I replied, well, I must do, since I married you and you're a whole feckin' joke. Now he's been sulking and barely talking to me. Did I take it too far? AITA. If so, I will apologize. Story 4. AITA. For telling my dad the only reason I'm living with him is because I have to. My mom passed away 6 months ago, so I have been living with my dad and his wife and my half-sister. Some background: my dad had an affair when my mom and him were together, with his now wife. My mom never bad-talked my dad and vice versa, but my half-sister never got along. She was always spoiled and whiny, which caused my stepmom and I to not really get along because she's constantly sticking up for her daughter. I lived with my mom the majority of the time and stayed with my dad 3 days a week, up until recently. Okay, so I got a job this summer as a lifeguard at a local water park. Yesterday was the first time I saved someone from drowning, so I was really happy when I got off of work. I went to Starbucks and got a drink and a muffin to just kinda celebrate. I came inside, and as I was going into the kitchen my dad stopped me and said, hey, you look happy. Guessing work was good. I put my stuff down on the kitchen island and started telling him about my day, and how I saved the little girl. I also asked him about his day. We talked for a good 10 minutes, while I was between the door that separates the kitchen and the living room. When I turned back to go into the kitchen, my half-sister was there eating my muffin. I asked, why are you eating my muffin? My stepmom then stepped in and said that I could share with my sister. I was about to just blow it off when my half-sister said, you're just jealous of me. I was amused, so I asked, why would I be jealous of you? She said, well, because I have a mom and you don't. She had a smirk on her face, and my stepmom didn't say anything. I just said, you two are the worst, and was about to leave, when I ran into my dad and he asked what's going on. I said, well, apparently I'm jealous of because she has a mom and I don't. My dad's mouth was dropped. Sure, he didn't stay with my mom, but he always cared about her. They were never on bad terms. Before my dad could think of anything to say, I said, Dad, I love you, I really do, but if I didn't have to live with you I wouldn't, because those two are a problem. I could see on my dad's face he was hurt by what I said. Later on, my stepmom came into my room calling me a little brat for hurting my dad's feelings, and that my half-sister is still young and doesn't know any better. I wasn't trying to hurt my dad's feelings, I was just hurt, so AITA.